Okay. Okay. Hi. It's for week 2. I'm gonna press play on this. So, before you say there's not 5, if the floor doesn't count, if the floor does count, then there's 6. But before you say there's not 5, there actually is, because this bullet is just super duper tiny. It's that little dot right there. It's right there. That's the little dot. The little dot. Okay. It doesn't have a, shh. Actually, I'm gonna just add it now. I think I know what you did during the class that I wasn't there, wasn't paying attention. Hold on. I think it was that. So now it does have a rigid body, and it'll still stay there. Woo! And I think it's gonna get smashed by one of those circles. Anyways, what we're actually focusing on is this capsule that will be using teleport, and the cube that will be using float. Not the variable, but yeah. You know, 1 year, it'll do. Oh, there it goes. Yep, there goes Bullet. There it goes. Anyways, look at capsule use teleport. Whoa! And then look at the cube. There it goes. Uh. It will just as fastly fall. Well, there it goes. Yep. Okay, so I did this. Ta-da. So I'm gonna go up here. We're in a public class of the script, week 2. We have an integer public, so it can be called from anywhere, called move distance. That is the distance that capsule is moving, player capsule is moving. And then move force, which is a float. Remember that you told me that F is there because you need to tell the engine that it's a float. And that is used down here. And then you have 2 game object fields and a rigid body field. Sorry, Bringo Burr. So you can put whatever you need there. So in this case, when I put it in the game controller, Yo Mom game controller, right? I chose the cube as object 2 and the player capsule as object 1. Right? Okay, period. Okay. So we then at start set move rigid body equal to the object's 2 rigid body. And then in the update function, we have the move object 1, which we set here in the Yo Mama game controller. I know it's not named that. It's not named that anymore. 4th restart. I was like, let me just make everything the way it looks like. But it's okay. So then you use the transform, which is essentially, hold on, accessing this, but not on the game controller. Not on the Yo Mama game controller. It's accessing this. And then it says translate. There we go. And then it says translate, essentially telling it to do stuff. Sorry. That's why it looks like it's teleporting in comparisons to the smooth motion that you're getting from this one. Uh, then we put the hold on, right here. So what numbers you put here is sorry. What numbers you put here is the distance that it will translate is slash move. So on each axis, so this would be the x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. We have our variable move distance here, which is 2, and then 0, because we don't want it moving anywhere else. Because that would make us sad. And we also have to and then you're also using it to transform relative to the camera. So theoretically, because I didn't do that, if I were to move the camera per se, right here, that well, the main camera, this one, which is connected to the floor, by the way. So guess it'd be relative to the floor because it's connected to the camera. But semantics. That means theoretically, if the camera was like being stupid and it was somewhere else, it would move in relations to the camera. Uh, Here we are at. Oh, also, we have the if statement. Input get key down key code W. So you press W, it makes the object one use teleport. As you see here, see, it says it uses teleport. So what? Either this line or this line's lying. Which one? No, I'm kidding. While this is a kick key down, so every time you press W down, right? Well, this is get key, so this is essentially you like if you wanted to actually do anything per se, you have to hold it, but like it could go down, come up, do whatever as long as it's more like you get key pressed here, which is a very fancy version of get key hold like a not a fancy version, a less fancy version of hold key because there is a hold key function in here. I swear, right? Nah, whatever. If I'm right or not. You'll yell at me. Okay, and then here we are. We have the move rigid body, which we set up here in the start function for the rigid body of the object 2. Then we're adding force. Transform up is you up is up is up. Clearly, no. It's the y-axis. So if you were to do right, that is the x-axis, and I would be so confidently sure that left is the z-axis, and we timed it by move force, which is the float that we set up here, which is 5.5, and then we tell it which force to use, which is the force mode, and then we're using acceleration. So when you're holding S down and you're moving upward on the y-axis, it slowly starts increasing because that's what acceleration is, and then it starts floating like it's being called to the heavens. And we're going to actually change this because it's floating, not rolling. You see it floating, and you're hitting. So yeah, that is the tea. That is the hot tea. Yeah.